From the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studio, here's Steve Kaplowitz and Adrian Broadus.
I always love it when ESPN Radio plays the SportsCenter theme and forgets to turn their microphones on for their SportsCenter updates. You see, it even happens with the national guys sometimes. And with that, we welcome you back here to the show. This is Sports Talk here on 600 ESPN El Paso. And we've got Alberto Dueta hanging out with us. I'm Steve Kaplowitz. Adrian's off today because he's going to be heading out to cover high school football with Football Friday night right around the corner, which means the two of us will take you through the first 2 hours of the show today. And then coming up at 6, it'll be UTEP football with Scotty Walden. Live today from Border City Ale House, 1506 Lee Trevino, where John Teicher will be standing by, talking UTEP football, talking about the first win of the season with Scotty Walden. Excited about that as we continue here on the program today. And by the way, there'll be a lot to talk about with the victory, previewing Louisiana Tech, and hopefully having a nice big crowd out there today. That would be great at the Border City Ale House for the show today. All right, we have a lot to cover. I'm going to be a little anxious over the next couple of hours because the Mets and Dodgers are on right now, so I get to keep my eye on that game while we're doing the show today. But, hey, that's part of the fun. The Foss will join us live at 5, Steve Foster, and he'll talk about the Cowboys. And I guarantee you, folks, that even though they're in a bye week this week, when he talks about the team, he is going to direct his criticism not on Jerry Jones, not on the lack of running game, not on the injuries. But I promise you that when the Foss comes on in an hour, he will talk about one individual and one individual only as the cause of all the problems, and that would be his favorite player on the team, Dak Prescott. Guaranteed, when Foss talks about Prescott, he will direct most, if not all, of his blame for the Cowboys' 3-3 season, which is the funniest thing ever. But again, any of you that ever listen to this show and know Foss know he's never been a big fan. So anyway, that's coming up on the show today. And then we'll have none other than John Teicher joining us in about an hour and 45 minutes. The Foss and all of our telephone guests here at 600 ESPN El Paso brought to you on the Longhorn Distributing Hotline. Longhorn Distributing has brought back the Pro line of detail products, including Pro Gold, Does All, and more at their store at 5516 East Paisano in the middle of El Paso. Had a chance to see Lauren Hodges today. And he stopped in, got to check out that new Santa Fe he's driving. Oh, it's a sweet ride. Sweet ride. 3 rows of seats. He's never operated his HD radio before. I had to show him how to pull in Q2 on that. He didn't know. So got that going. Spent a little time with Lauren. He has some new commercials that are going to be coming out for basketball season, so that's always fun. My thanks to Lauren Hodges and Longhorn Distributing, one of our longest and oldest advertisers and supporters here on 600 ESPN El Paso. So, yes, great to have him back. Great to have Alberto back with us. You were covering high school football last night. How'd that go?
It went well. Coronado hosted the Montwood Rams. It was a district game, and Coronado came out on top. It was probably what you could call a must-win, and they did just that. It was a dominating win over the Montwood Rams.
What was the final?
The final was 29-7.
That is dominant.
Yeah.
That is a dominant performance.
Jumped out to 14 before the half, and then after half, they continued to play well. But it was just a garbage time touchdown for the Montwood Rams. Coronado is able to run the ball well. They passed the ball well. And so, they won on all facets of the ball. They had an interception, a lot of pass disruption. And then the ball would hang in the air. Boom, interception.
Well, that's always big. When you're able to have the ball hang in the air and get a boom interception, we know we're doing good, right?
Big time.
We know we're doing good. All right. Got a lot in store for you today on the program. A lot to cover, a lot to talk about. 505-6009, that is our telephone number, 505-6009. as we continue. Are you covering a game tonight for Football Friday night?
Yes, so tonight I am doing the Franklin hosting Socorro Bulldogs tonight. So that should be a good one. I'm excited for that. It'll be out here on the west side, so that'll be cool. So
it's always nice when you stay on the west side, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I've covered the Franklin Cougars for, I want to say, 3 games already, and their games is pretty straightforward. They just give the ball to Ernie Powers, and he runs it down your throat. And if you can stop him, then, well, you have a chance to win the game. And if you don't, then good luck, bud, because they can get up on you, and then they can just run out the clock. It's hard, and they have a good defensive front 7 that can create pressure, takes care of you on the other side.
I like the good luck, bud. That's a good way to describe what will happen if you can't stop them. That's good. By the way, I see that you're going to be heading out to Franklin. I also see that we've got JD at Hanks for El Paso High and Hanks. George is going to be out at Horizon for a good one. Del Valle undefeated, and a Horizon team looking for their first win of district play. They're 0-4 in district, 1-5 overall. Zay Galindo is going to be at Andress for the Burgess-Andress game. Brandon Cohn is going to be checking out Pebble Hills and Eastwood. Angel Torres at Clint for Isleta and Clint. Steve Escajeda will be at Riverside to see undefeated Riverside hosting Mountain View. And then Adrian's going to be at the game of the week, our 915 Tours game of the week. Irvin High for Irvin and Austin. So we've got some good matchups coming up here tonight.
Yeah, it's a good weekend for high school football here on Friday night. It's going to be a great night to be tuning in to Football Friday nights. That one after the coaches show, man, all these college football games in the middle of the week throw off this coaches show in every which way and form. Now it's on a what? Today's a Friday. It was on a what day was it last week or last time that the coaches show happened?
Last Friday. We did Tuesday, Friday, and now we're back here to Friday again.
So yeah, after the coaches show, high school football Friday night's the place to be.
It is the place to be as we continue here on Sports Talk. So we are covering a total of 8 games tonight. We have 8 games in El Paso, and looking forward to that. So it should be a busy night with Bo Bagley back tonight and Paul McKinnon, and a Football Friday night here in our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios. So yes, we've got a lot going on here as we get started on the show today. What?
Sorry.
I don't know what you were saying to me, but thank you. Whatever it was, I have no idea what that was. 505-6009, that is our telephone number as we continue here on Sports Talk. 505-6009, getting going on the show today. By the way, had a chance earlier to go listen to Scotty Walden's press conference where he met the media, had a lot to say today. Spoke for about 20, 25 minutes. Adrian put some of those clips up on his Twitter account, Twitter and X, which is at Adrian Broadus. But if you missed any of those comments on social, you can hear them tonight and new comments with John Teicher out at Border City Ale House for UTEP football with Scotty Walden. And before you know it, basketball season's here. Is it hard to believe that we are about 3 weeks away from the start of men's and women's basketball season? That's kind of, I don't know if it's even set in for people right now.
No, it's not hard to believe that basketball is about to start. Once football starts, once school starts, once August gets into play, things just kind of start to snowball. Next thing you know, it's the middle of November and basketball is in full effect, and you have that weird period between football and basketball overlapping. I remember a few years ago there was a UTEP football game, and then in the afternoon, a couple of basketball games. That was a lot of fun. I love when things overlap like that, but that's just because I enjoy being out there. So, yeah, I mean, UTEP athletics in full effect right now, and it's only going to pick up towards December.
You're right. The Mets are pounding Jack Flaherty right now. I believe Starling Marte just doubled down the left field line, making it a 5-1 Mets lead. Pete Alonso has a 3-run home run. He just scored on the Marte double, and the Mets, at least for now, are doing everything right. And that's important. It really is. Because if the Mets end up winning this game, at least that means that the Dodgers will not be able to clinch, on their home. There's a first out of the inning. Look at they're just tagging Flaherty right now. They really are. So Jesse Winker scored right behind Pete Alonso. So far, Jack Flaherty has given up 5 hits, 4 walks, and 5 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. So the Mets have, let's be honest, they have been disappointing so far at Citi Field. They lost their first 2 games badly. No offense, terrible pitching. The Dodgers have been in total control. So at least if the Mets win today and they go back to Los Angeles for Game 6 and possibly Game 7, they're showing a little fight left in them. And I'm sure the Dodger fans don't care because then they get to clinch the pennant potentially at Dodger Stadium in front of their own fans and celebrate there. But listen, as a Met fan, the last thing I want to see today is watch the Mets get beat on their home field and get swept by the Dodgers at Citi Field. I don't want to see that. Give me at least a victory. Take it back to Dodger Stadium for Game 6. And no matter what happens, all right, I feel better of this series going 6 than it ending in 5. Put it that way.
Yeah, and look, Mets advanced the runner there, another hit on Jack Flaherty. I'm wondering when the Dodgers are going to pull him. But, you want to show a little fight there for your fan base towards the end of the season. The Dodgers, I hate when people call them underdogs. I don't understand that at all. So, the Mets were very much underdogs in this. So show that you have a little fight left in you, that you're not going to give up when you go down 3-1. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. I personally don't care about where you clinch what, as long as you move on to the next round. I don't care where that happens, but obviously I'm not a fan of these teams, so whatever the outcome of this is really doesn't matter, as the Mets knock another hit, and now it's 6-1 Mets up on the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's big. It is very, very big. So, again, the Mets are just, they're delivering. They're all delivering. Even the guys that haven't been doing anything are hitting the ball today. So that's what you want to see. In fact, good to see Francisco Alvarez with a pair of hits today and an RBI, because he has been slumping all postseason, but finally getting going a little bit and getting a little confidence. So the hit parade really is 2 hits for Alvarez, 2 hits for Marte, a 3-run home run for Alonso, a hit for Lindor, walks from Nimmo, Alonso, Winker, and Taylor. That's how the Mets have done it, and they are just laying the wood to Jack Flaherty today. And again, one thing I've learned about the Dodgers, no lead is a safe lead with the Dodgers, because you've got Ohtani, you have Betts, you have Hernandez, you have Freeman, you've got also Kike, Tommy Edman, Muncy, Will Smith. They are loaded top to bottom. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, I still believe it's going to be Yankees, Dodgers when it's all said and done. What the Guardians did last night was amazing. They were a strike away from going down 3-0. And they end the Dodgers. Oh, the Mets are smoking it. They're just, oh my God, it's about to be 7-1. So yeah, they are a triple right now for Francisco Lindor. So yes, I mean, everything that could possibly be going right is, and you know what's amazing to me? That they've left Flaherty in this long.
Yeah, that's
it
what I was
almost,
thinking.
you know what it tells me? Dave Roberts is conceding Game 5 here in the 3rd inning. He's not going to waste his time trying to win today's game. It's almost like he's giving the Mets Game 5 and will give the Dodgers the opportunity to win one of the next 2 back in Dodger Stadium, which is fine with me. Give the Mets what they need most, a little confidence right now, trying to just get as many runs as possible here against the Dodgers to just blow them out of the building in Game 5. So I'm okay with this. I really am. Anyway, all right, 7-1 the score. Dodgers trailing the Mets, 3rd inning. We got a lot more to talk about on the show. 16 past as we just get started here on a Friday. 505-6009, our telephone number. Let's go to Charlie 1. Get our first of what's going to be 4 traffic updates this afternoon. He has our first one right now. All right, it's 8-1 Mets. Top 4. I can relax right now. I feel good. Feel less stressed than I did the last 2 days. So that's good news. 8-4 Mets, top 4. I'm sorry, 8-1 Mets, top 4. Better not be 8-4 Mets. I'll be nervous again. But no, 8-1 looks good right now for them. Really does. And tonight, Guardians and the Yankees. Game 4. I was listening last night to John Sterling, the longtime voice of the Yankees, who's back for the playoffs only, and then he's going to retire again with Susie Waldman. And he kept calling the Guardians the Indians. And I'm like, oh, come on, John. I mean, I know they were the Indians for 1,000 years, but they're now the Guardians. You got to at least get that part right. And he was messing up the top. One inning was the bottom of the 8th, and he was calling it the top of the 8th. I was like, oh, man, he's screwing up innings. He keeps calling them by the wrong name. It's a little tough. But, I mean, the guy's a Yankee legend. He's been there the whole time, so I get it. But, yeah, they brought him back in the booth this one last run, and every time he kept referring to the Cleveland Guardians as the Indians, I just said, oh, man, this is it can't be ending well. Really can't.
Yeah, you got to feel for him. But I guess if you're an old school Yankees fan, old school baseball fan, it's got to feel really nostalgic to have him again on the broadcast coming out of retirement. And it's for those who love all things broadcast, it's extremely cool to watch. But you do definitely see he's not as sharp as he once was, and it's just a reps thing, I believe. It's not that he can't do it anymore. It's just that he hasn't been doing it. So it's just. The longer the series goes, the better he'll get. Hopefully the Yankees play all the way into the World Series.
Listen to this call, by the way. This was Tom Hamilton, the radio voice of the Cleveland Guardians. Now, I'm going to play you the same exact play, but I'm going to let you listen to 2 different calls. You tell me the better of the 2, okay? Let's start it off with last night's big Joenski Noel tying home run. Actually, no, this was the game winner. I think this was the game winner, not the one that tied. I wanted to hear the tying home run. Let me see if I can get oh, yeah, this is the tying home run. Okay, so check this out. Here is the tying home run from Tom Hamilton, Cleveland Guardians radio. Listen to this.
Swung on and hammered, high, deep to left, away, out of here.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good. So that was the call for the tying home run. Here is the call for the game winner that happened last night.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes.
Again, terrific calls. I love Tom Hamilton. He's exciting. He's got a great voice. He's made for radio. Okay, now back to the Noel tying home run in the 9th inning. This was Guardians Spanish radio. Here we go.
En segunda tomas, el lanzamiento viene al plato, batazo.
¡Feliz Navidad! ¡Feliz Navidad! ¡Joenski Noel! Acaba de empatar el encuentro, la Navidad en octubre. ¡Qué bárbaro, qué monstruo!
Se puso la Navidad y no ha nevado todavía. Lo que cayó fue la explosión que le dije a ustedes si se envasaba Nate Thomas, algo iba a pasar. La puso chiquitita. Joenski Noel, 2 empate este partido. Le dije a ustedes que esto no se ha acabado. Todavía una gran oportunidad.
That is fantastic. Okay. By the way, his nickname is Big Christmas, in case you're wondering. So, yeah, Big Christmas delivered. He was 1 for 15 before last night's tying home run, and then David Fry won it in the won in extras. So, what a game, what a moment. And yes, it always sounds better on Spanish radio than it does, even with the great Tom Hamilton, who had I thought Tom Hamilton had a great call. Have you noticed that the greats here always let the crowd react after the big home run? Like, they'll call it, they'll pause, you hear the crowd, and then they come back a little bit later. Spanish radio, I love them because they yell and scream, There is no crowd. They talk over the crowd. They're just having fun. That's what it seems like for me.
Yeah, the references to Christmas in October and Big Christmas, it hasn't snowed yet, and I definitely love the Spanish one and them talking over the crowd. The thing is, I definitely still hear the crowd. You hear the roar in the background, and to me, that's more than enough to give me the idea that in the background there is 60, 70,000 people just dying in that stadium. So, yeah, I love them. I love them on both sides. It just really depends what cup of tea you like.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I really do. And by the way, update on the game. It's now 8-2. 2 outs, runner on first. Andy Pages had, in fact, hit a home run off of Peterson here in the fourth. And Shohei has singled. So it is now 8-2 Mets over the Dodgers in the top of the fourth inning. So keep an update on that one. Sebastian's getting ready for SportsCenter here at the bottom of the hour. Sebastian, he's not. Is he going to, what's he have? Is he going to games?
Yeah, he has a Burgess Andrus game he's doing with Zay, I believe.
Oh, he's going out with Zay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. By the way, you tell me, better call, Spanish or Tom Hamilton?
I think it's Spanish because I like it when they reference things that don't particularly have anything to do with baseball, but they're trying to tie it in. I like that.
I do too. All right. 505-6009. That is our telephone number as we continue here on Sports Talk. 505-6009. By the way, I don't know if everybody saw this story or not, but Angel Reese, the rookie forward from the Chicago Sky, said recently that her salary in the WNBA does not help much when it comes to her bills. So apparently, Reese was on Instagram Live on Wednesday and said, the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think it pays one of my bills, literally. So here's what she said, okay? Apparently, she has a monthly rental payment in Chicago that totals $8,000.
Okay, that's up there.
Which breaks down to $96,000 on a yearly basis.
She makes $81,000 a year.
$73,439 is what she makes.
Gave her more than she's worth.
Now, when she entered the WNBA, she made $1.8 million in a NIL deal during her senior year. So think about this for a second, okay? As a rookie, she made $73,000 in the WNBA. However, that being said, she made more than, 20 times that in her NIL deal her senior year at LSU. That is it's a staggering stat. And to me, this is why a lot of college athletes are going to stay in school. They're not going to look to leave anytime soon and go to the pros because suddenly there is so much more lucrative money in NIL deals in college compared to, let's say, the WNBA, for example, that it pays to stay in school and get paid there.
Most definitely, and I think that, for women in particular, where your leagues aren't as developed as the one for men's, right? For an NFL player who's a top NFL player, well, maybe breaking into the NFL is more lucrative than just going to another collegiate year. But for Angel Reese, you were making more money in college. It benefited you to stay in college as long as you can because the yearly salaries in the WNBA are not nearly as competitive as they are with NIL deals that you can get in college, and you can get them for 4, 5, 6 years. And now we've seen guys like Cam Rising who have been there forever.
That's right.
And we're getting tired of. He looks like he definitely needs to retire.
Well, listen to this too, okay? Apparently, she has endorsement deals with Reebok, Beats by Dre, and of course, why would Angel Reese not have an endorsement deal with Hershey's Reese's Pieces candy? It makes total sense, right? It really does. She also started a podcast called Unapologetically Angel last month. On top of all that, She's planning to join a new 3-on-3 women's league called Unrivaled in January. And believe it or not, for an 8-week season, her salary is expected to be $250,000, which is roughly 3.5 times what she's making right now in the WNBA. And she's going to do that for 8 weeks in a 3-on-3 league.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Angel Reese is a product that people want to buy right now. Angel Reese can and will fill an arena if she is going to go play basketball. So I definitely see her cashing in on her name, image, and likeness after college, and this is really what she's doing. She's supplementing her WNBA contract with marketability of her name, image, and likeness, and now she has a podcast, deals with all these companies that align with the person that she is, and so that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do if you're an athlete of this caliber. So good for her. I hope it continues, and I hope she keeps riding that wave. And it's just when you really start stacking down the numbers and the numbers and cents, it's incredible.
Well, what's incredible to me is that as much popularity as the WNBA is getting right now because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and everybody else, the league doesn't pay anything. I mean, it really doesn't. There's no reason why the players in that league should have to go play overseas during the offseason because they're not making enough. I mean, really, let's be honest. What is $75,000 in a professional basketball league that is getting more attention and popularity now than it's ever gotten before? Why and why should they be paying that kind of money, even though it's only a 4-month league? If a 3-on-3 league is going to be paying $250,000 for 8 weeks, doesn't it almost seem backwards? Doesn't it seem like the WNBA should be paying the $250,000 and the 3-on-3 league should be paying the $75,000 to go play in that?
Yeah, I think that, look, if you ask me that question at face value, I think that the reason the WNBA takes less home is because of just the size of the WNBA league is they have to pay out more people, right? This new 3-on-3 league is a lot smaller, and I'd imagine that you'd have to pay out a lot less people to remain profitable. And I think that that's what the WNBA is about, profit.
Yeah, but it should be taking care of its players better.
Yeah,
it's just a reaction. I didn't realize, and I really need to look at what the average salary is in the WNBA. But I mean, that's not nearly what we would expect it to be. Let me go to Eddie in Fort Bliss as we continue 35 past the hour here on Sports Talk. 505-6009. Two lines are open. Eddie, what's going on, man? How are you?
So you're telling me there's a chance. Apparently the Mets are trying.
Well, there's the chance of the Dodgers getting back into this one is also pretty good because they just knocked out David Peterson here in the top of the fourth, and all of a sudden it's an 8-2 game, but the Dodgers have bases loaded and 2 outs. Exactly.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Exactly. I mean, let's put it this way. As a Met fan, it's never easy. It is never, ever easy.
So, I always love when athletes start crying, and I get it. They have a very short time to maximize their earning potential. However, you chose that profession. You could always choose another profession. Mm-hmm. You don't have to work there. But the thing that really gets me is I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Jalen Rose broke it down on ESPN one day. When it comes down to it, you're talking about a league that's been in operation, 22, 23 years?
Yeah.
And until this year, it's never broken a profit. They've never finished in the black until this year. They are subsidized by the NBA. And on top of it, and I get it 100%, hey, you got to make a living. But at the same time, you got to live within your means.
That's true.
She's crying about, I only made $72,000. How would she love to be a AAA baseball player who's only making $7,200 a year, or whatever their salary is, because it is fractionally smaller than what you would get as an active Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, but look at it this way: the WNBA is still the top level of professional basketball for females in the United States. It's the top level. It is, and it's run in conjunction with the NBA. So think about it. It's the WNBA, okay? So you would think, and their average salary is about $115,000, $120,000. But the rookies, they make basically like $75,000 $5,000 and down. So that's the rookie salary. And then as you become a bigger veteran and more accomplished, you can make a couple $100,000. But point is, it's not breaking the bank the way you would expect it with all the popularity it's getting.
And I completely agree with that. At the same time, though, that popularity is less than 12 months old.
Yep, that's true too.
Because prior to this, and we don't know if there's going to be a law of diminishing returns or if they're actually going to go ahead and bank on the sustainability factor that they may have with Caitlin Clark, with Angel Reese, with a bunch of the other ones that just came in. What was the other? And here's the other thing: average person. How many NBA star or WNBA stars can the average person name? 4, 5.
If
half of us will think of Cheryl. Half of us will still think of Cheryl Miller, and she's been retired for 8-10 years.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. But understand this, too. They just got a brand-new media deal, and that with ABC and ESPN, and therefore, when you signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal over 11 years, you would think for that money, they should start factoring that more into the players.
And they will eventually, but you still have to realize it. I mean, look at it from your personal aspect, right? As the advertisement person for your radio, even though someone gives you a commitment of X amount of spots, you have to realize it first before you can actually put that into effect.
That's true.
So
that's very true.
She has to do the same thing.
Well, and remember this too, okay? They didn't even have full-time charter travel until this year. So they did get a lot of benefits with this new media deal. There's no doubt about that. And Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese helped bring that in. That's also a fact.
I'm as a father of a young girl, I'm happy for them. I hope they build off of it. But, it's also the profession you chose. You know there was going to be lumps with it. Stick with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Eddie, good news. Reed Garrett just struck out Freddie Freeman looking on a 3-2 pitch to end the fourth and strand the bases loaded for the Dodgers. So there's a chance.
Great
Eddie.
news. So, again, you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance, Eddie. There's a chance. Hey, have a great weekend, man. Enjoy it. I'll talk to you Monday.
All right.
20 in front of 5 as we continue here on Sports Talk. All right. So, yes, there's a chance. Meanwhile, as the Mets keep their lead over the Dodgers, we're going to take a timeout, come back, get some more phone calls. But it is an interesting story to hear about Angel Reese, and hopefully for her and others like her, they'll start to see the kind of increases that they need and they deserve. Listen, you're making $200 million a year for 11 years. You're making your $2.2 billion in that media deal. Money should trickle down to the players to where rookies are making more than $75,000. And by the way, that's the top priced rookie. Okay, there's some rookies making $10,000 playing in this league. That's just the facts. More sports talk in a moment as we continue. 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, more runs by the Mets. They have now tacked on a 9th run off of Brett Honeywell, the former Chihuahua reliever, who is pitching right now for the Dodgers. Brett Honeywell's been around, man. He is well-traveled, which does include a trip to El Paso. And the Mets just keep trying to add more runs. In fact, they just... they've got a runner on third. That would be Jesse Winker, who had a triple to knock in Pete Alonso. So 1 out, bottom 4, 9-2, Mets leading the Dodgers. Trying to send it back to Los Angeles for a Game 6 on Sunday and then potential Game 7 on Monday. So there you go. That's at least the plan. All right, 505-6009. That is our telephone number, 505-6009, as we continue. By the way, How about this? It's a crazy story. Chris Christie is the former governor of New Jersey. Chris Christie is also a Dallas Cowboys fan. And he took aim at Dan Campbell of the Lions, the head coach, and said that Campbell had no class after continuing to run trick plays as the Lions beat up the Cowboys 47-9 in Week 6.
That's the type of football that they play. I don't think that it's that they have no class, right? The Lions just play a very particular game of football led by their coach Dan Campbell, who likes to, what did he say? He likes to kick you in the mouth, to bite a kneecap on the way up, and that's what he was doing on their way up back to the top ranks of the NFL.
Yep.
They're biting your knee off. I'm sure one time when the Lions were miserable, the Cowboys put it on them, and no one said anything. So, hey, when it's your time to take it, you have to take it, and it's time for the Cowboys to take it, unfortunately.
Here's the clip. This was Chris Mad Dog Russo, Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius XM Radio, Sirius Satellite Radio, with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Here, listen to this.
Do you have a problem personally of Campbell rubbing it in with an eligible receiver situation in the second half when he's up by 4,000 points, which he did with his offensive lineman just to get back at the Cowboys from a year ago? Do you have a problem with that as a fan?
No, that's Dan Campbell. He's got no class. Never has. So
oh, really?
It's fine. It's fine. Look, Dan Campbell, that's the way he is. And what goes around comes around. There'll be a time when.
So you were bothered. So you were bothered by it. Okay.
Well, I just think it was. Look, and I think that it's misdirected. Dan Campbell's angry because the referees got a call wrong in the game a year ago. Well, then run that play on Roger Goodell. The Cowboys had nothing to do with the play being called incorrectly. It wasn't a challenge that the Cowboys made. It was the call the referees made. The Lions got hurt by it. The Cowboys benefited by it. But now, so because of that, you want to take your peak out over that while you're, beating the hell out of these guys and rub it in. I don't think that's what pros do. But it's his prerogative. It's the reputation that he'll carry around the league. And quite frankly, I think most people think that's his rep now anyway.
Oh, my God. So anyway, there you go. Chris Christie ripping Dan Campbell, saying it was a classless move. Trust me when I tell you this. I really don't think Cowboy fans even thought for a minute that was a classless move. They were more worried about their team not scoring points than anything else. But that's just kind of how it works. By the way, the Mets just tacked on another run. It's now 10-2. Bottom of the fourth, 2 outs. Francisco Alvarez is now 3 for 3 as he is finally getting his offense going a little bit and connected on his third hit of the game here against the Dodgers.
Man, big day to be a Mets fan. I know Drew Bonnie is definitely super happy right now, but just going back to the Chris Christie stuff, I don't take his word isn't worth anything. He's just trying to get in good ranks with Jerry Jones, his good friend. Yep. I remember when they used to throw him, both of them on the TV. It used to annoy me.
I know it. All right, we got a few minutes left to go in the hour before we get ready for our Dallas Cowboys update with Christy Scales and the Foss. Steve Foster is going to join us, but up next, it's Gator Richard. Go Gators! You were at the football game Wednesday night, the UTEP game. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, go Gators. Hey, I thought that was a pretty decent game. I think, UTEP was it looked to me like they were trying to give it away towards the end, with the turnovers and, questionable calls, but they pulled it off. So
they did. And by the way, Florida International has some serious problems. Let's put it that way, man. I know they lost now. They're 2-5. UTEP's 1-6. But I'll say this: as somebody who you attended the game, the UTEP defense, that was about as hard a hitting team that I had seen in a while. UTEP was definitely defensively trying to lay the wood down in that game.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take credit for this win.
You should. It's all because of you. In fact, I'm upset that Scotty Walden didn't bring you into the locker room after the game to at least get a game ball. You probably should have gotten a game ball for that one, Richard.
Well, it's hard to recover from a 0-6. You know what I mean? But a 5-1, hey, at least you're trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, and that takes us to our next subject right now. The 3-3 Florida Gators getting a chance after losing a tough one to Tennessee on the road. Now they get Kentucky at home. Kentucky, by the way, for those of you wondering, 3-3 also. So this should be a layup, I would think, for Florida. But I don't know. You tell me. Do you think this game's going to be tougher than people think?
Well, they're playing in the swamp. I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to Florida. Plus, Florida's beat them what was the record? 33 in a row. So, Kentucky's going to come in kind of, gun shy, I think. But,
yep. By the way, is Billy Napier still trying to impersonate a football coach, in your opinion?
He's doing better. I mean, Christ. I mean, at some point, even a broke clock is right twice a day, right?
There you go.
So, I mean, he's doing better. The Florida fans, in the mom's basement. There are no basements in Florida, so those kind of comments.
Yeah,
I was waiting for Spurrier to, lower the axe on them, but didn't happen. But
got it.
What do I know? Anyways, I want to bring up some baseball, man. If we got a minute,
we have about 30 seconds. Can you get it in time?
Well, how about Showtime? I mean, how many times did he score yesterday?
No,
3?
He's been amazing. He's been a great story this postseason. In fact, they're one win away from the World Series. You might get your wish. Showtime on the biggest stage.
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't watch a Subway series. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I know you're from New York, but growing up, man.
Yeah, I know. You hate it.
I didn't care for anything from New York.
Well, first off, growing up, you didn't even have a baseball team in the big leagues in Florida. They didn't get a team till the 90s. So who did you root for in baseball?
Boston.
Oh, so wait a minute. Now you don't like New York, but let's go ahead and root for another Northeast city that's right near New York. Let's go and become a Boston fan. That doesn't make any sense. Come on now.
Well, my brother was stationed up in that area, so he would send me Boston Brewers.
You mean Boston Bruins?
Bruins stuff.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
A Boston hat, Boston.
And I'll tell you this much too: if you grew up a Boston Red Sox fan, you hate the Yankees. Hate the Yankees with a passion.
We don't like anything Yankee, that's for sure.
I hear you. Well, you like me.
I like you,
well,
and I appreciate, nice. Man. I appreciate the the time on the show, and I'm glad Adrian's not there to conspiracy Richard and why does I hang up? Not while I'm on the line, but as I hang up.
Oh, my God. All right, listen, take care of yourself. Have a good weekend. Go Gators, and I'll talk to you next week, Richard. Thanks for the phone call. And by the way, for those of you wondering, I mean, I don't really consider myself a Yankee. I consider myself an El Pasoan. When you've lived here 46 years, even if you're born in New York and you spent a few years before you moved here, 5 years before you moved to El Paso, this is home. El Paso is home and always will be. All right, one down, one to go. Cowboys update next, then the Foss, then John Teicher a little bit later in our 5 o'clock hour. We'll update you on the Mets-Dodgers and a whole lot more. Sports Talk continues, getting you ready for UTEP football with Scotty Walden, and then football Friday night at 7 on 600 ESPN El Paso.
From the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studio, here's Steve Kaplowitz and Adrian Broadus.
Hanging with you on a Friday afternoon, Alberto Urueta with us, and he's taking us through. Adrian's going to be at the football games tonight. In fact, let's get you all caught up on all the football Friday night games as we're about 2 hours away. It is going to be a busy night with Bo Bagley and Paul McKinnon here in our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Property Schoolyard Sports Studios. Here's what we have on for you. Adrian will be at our 915 Tours Game of the Week. That is the Austin Panthers, undefeated in district at 4-0, meeting the Irvin Rockets, 3-1 in district play, 4-2 overall. Should be a terrific game. Steve Escajeda will be at Riverside, where Mountain View comes to town. Angel Torres will be hanging out for Isleta and Clint. Brandon Cohn getting ready for Eastwood and Pebble Hills. Zay Galindo at Andress High, along with Sebastian, where they'll be watching Burgess and Andress. George will be watching Horizon and Del Valle. JD will be at Hanks for El Paso High and the Knights. And finally, the aforementioned Alberto Dueta will be about half a mile from my house, checking out Franklin and Socorro. So that game will be out at Franklin High, coming up with a 7:30 kickoff. And with all that, we welcome back to the show our weekly Dallas Cowboys analyst. He is the one and only Steve Foster, host of Laying Down the Law, Sundays on ESPN San Antonio, along with Chris Fernandez. What's going on, Foss? How are you?
Man, it's rough. It's rough in Cowboy land. You know, I think we've finally hit rock bottom, officially a dumpster fire, and maybe somebody will realize things are going to have to change.
Who's to blame for their 3-3 start?
Everybody. I don't like Jerry Jones. I don't like Dak Prescott being greedy. I don't like CD not running routes, if that's the case. A la Troy Aikman, who I trust with 3 Super Bowl championships. Nobody tackling on defense. Effort is good, but good's not going to win any games.
When you bring up all those offensive issues, we can't really discount the defense. They're without Micah Parsons. They're without without Lawrence. And those are big losses, aren't they?
They are. But let me just say this, and you and I have sidebar conversations almost every week. But I'm going to tell you, as a former offensive guy, as a former guy who's helped coach offenses, I can't blame the defense if my quarterback keeps throwing interceptions in the end zone. It doesn't put you in a good mood. It doesn't translate into team anything. It's like a guy who would go up to bat and strike out every time bases are loaded. You wouldn't have the confidence of running out into the field as a baseball team and going, I'm real excited and I want to strike out the side to come up again. There's a psychology to it. You have a greedy guy, in my opinion, who's a good, you're going to tell me about all the stats in the world. There's only one stat that counts. You know it. It's wins. You have the money, and you have shown me the money, and now you have not shown me any production. And at anybody else's job, I'm sorry, they wouldn't say, this is okay, this is acceptable. It's not acceptable. And the guy's great. He's the Man of the Year award with the Walter Payton and all that. But that doesn't get me to the Super Bowl, bro. It just doesn't.
You know who else agrees with you with that Dak Prescott take? Bart Scott. I'm going to let you listen in to a segment on with Mike Greenberg on ESPN when Bart had this to say about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Here we go.
You had an entirely other thought this morning about where the quarterback factors into all of this.
Yeah, because in my opinion, this is going to be an interesting case study when Dak Prescott's contract is over, career is over with, right? Because he's probably going to retire as the highest paid quarterback in history. Before that, used to belong to Eli Manning, then Kirk Cousins took that over. But Eli Manning won Super Bowls. And part of the reason why this roster is so thin is because it was more important to him to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and not leaving a little wiggle room for Jerry Jones to go out there and to make some offseason moves, right? We look at Patrick Mahomes and we talk about why he's compared to the GOAT. Well, he's the GOAT in more ways than one because he's a guy that should be the highest paid player in football altogether. But he's a guy that leaves a little bit so I can keep Chris Jones because he realizes that I need players. And the problem is, and you heard Graz say, that this roster is thin. And so what happens is if any one of those important players get hurt, his backup is so diminished. It's such a big difference between his backup that you can't be functional. This roster is good if everybody's healthy. But it's because Dak Prescott decided to be the highest paid player in the NFL and not leave a little cheese on the taco.
What do you think of that, Mike?
Yeah, no, I think there's something to that. We always talked about with Tom Brady leaving money on the table for a surrounding cast.
So there you go. So that is a take. That is a take that I know Foss believes very wholeheartedly. We've talked about that, and that same take was brought up by Bart Scott here this morning on ESPN.
Cappy. Very simple. If Tom Brady does it and Patrick Mahomes does it, maybe you should do it if you're an NFL quarterback. Just fancy me that. The people that have won 3 or more Super Bowls do it. When I was a little kid over in East El Paso, I did everything I saw in the highlights that Walter Payton did, that Marcus Allen did, everything they did. They ran the hill, I ran the hill off McCray.
Yeah.
They were on the track, I ran the track. The same mentality of win has to come with your paycheck as well. $30 million versus $60 million. Anybody listening today would say, I'll take 30. I told you, at the end of the day for me, and I'm passionate, I want to win. I can manage my money. Who cares if I'm the highest paid player? How many trophies are in my case? You go to my house, I got trophies for softball, I got trophies for football, I got trophies for basketball, I got rings. I win. I want to win in the courtroom. I want to win on the football field. I want to win at Tiddlywinks. I don't care what the money is. When I go to my grave, people say, you know what, that dude won. When I was his teammate, he was a good teammate, and guess what? He won.
Well, let me say that.
That's what I want. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you shouldn't care about winning more than money.
Well, and I'm going to bring up this point too, okay? You're on the radio Sunday mornings on ESPN San Antonio. There was a certain San Antonio power forward who during the peak of his career, when he could have earned the most money possible, took less in order to build a championship team around him, which is exactly what happened with the Spurs.
So, fancy me this again. No matter the sport, the champions seem to do the same game plan, Cappy. They sacrifice for the win in the championship.
Yep.
Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Well, guess who's headed to the slaughter mill, bro?
So let's put it this way. So let's take this a step beyond, okay? If Dak Prescott wanted to be the highest paid player in football, which he got, by the way, Jerry rewarded him. And we all know that before that contract was renegotiated, his salary cap hit this year was so high, the Cowboys couldn't afford to do anything, okay? Is Jerry at fault for giving him the money before the start of the season? Because he could have just said, you know what? You're going to play this year out. We're either going to assign you to a team-friendly deal or we're going to let you go someplace else. We'll take the hit this year, but I'm not going to take the hit 4 more years, which is exactly what he's going to do with this new contract. So we could talk about Dak Prescott's greed all we want. The fact is, their owner did not, hang on. Their owner did not have to give him that contract extension before the season started.
I agree. 100%. However, if you're going to get paid like that, you got to play better than this. If you're going to get paid like that, 2 weeks in a row, you've thrown end zone interceptions. Now, you jumped on me and went, Cooper Rush did it. Come on, man. Really?
No, you're right. But the point is this. He paid him based on last year. And last year, up until the final week or two of the regular season, he was playing like the MVP of the league. Now, I'm not talking about the playoffs. I'm just talking about the regular season. Dak had a terrific regular season last year. Terrific. He was in the MVP conversation. He really was. So, remember, he played like that last year, which gives him that kind of leverage to start the year. And you're right. He is absolutely not playing like the contract he just signed. In fact, he should probably give that money back to Jerry Jones because of how he's playing so far.
Happy. You take a whole room full of MVP trophies, and I'll take 2 championship trophies, and I'll call it a career.
Yeah.
You have all the MVP trophies you want, friend. Great. It can be that those trophies go to people just like Heisman's. Tomato, I don't know. This guy doesn't like Vince Young, so Vince Young comes in second. This guy doesn't like Tommy Frazier, so Tommy Frazier comes in second. But Vince Young won a national championship. Tommy Frazier won 2, played in 3 national championship games. That's what they get remembered by. By winning the Rose Bowl and the national championship is VY. I don't know who the Heisman Trophy was in 2005. Don't care. Wow. You can have all those trophies you want. Have all the money you want. I'll take modest money and championships all day. That's what I like.
Yeah, I understand. I get you.
Because here's the thing, Cappy, now they're not having last year's season. He's got the money, and we got nothing. Cap hit, no wins, and we're stuck for 3 more years.
I know.
And again, Mahomes and Brady and Manning, I think, they all said, I'll take less money.
Well, I mean, you can add Josh Allen to that mix because even though Josh Allen has a $258 million contract, only $100 million of that is guaranteed. Meaning his average guarantee per year is $16 million compared to $32 million for Prescott.
Right. So you see everybody that gets farther along in this whole maze of trying to win the Vincent T. Lombardi Trophy. Their blueprint is exactly the opposite of what was allowed in Dallas. I'm not hating on Dallas. I love Dallas. I got Dallas Cowboys pajamas. I got throw blankets, all that stuff. So I'm in. But it's not smart if I want to be happy on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights during football season.
The Foss with us here on Sports Talk as we continue our conversation. Jerry Jones, he snapped this week at the team on 105.3 The Fan during his weekly radio hit, threatened to replace them if the questions continue. Give me your take on what happened with the Cowboys owner and the radio host during that spot.
He effectively said what my mom told me when I was a 8-year-old kid living on Allway Drive in El Paso, Texas. You follow the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules, and I got the job and you don't. So you listen to me because I got the money. And that's exactly what he did. Forget the questions we're going to ask. I pay your salary. My mom, I keep the roof over your head. I put food in your belly. I make your sheets clean. You're not going to question me.
Well,
it happened for 30 years.
By the way, Jerry Jones doesn't pay their salary, does he? He doesn't own 105.3 The Fan.
Well, he purported to. He said, then I'll get my own. My guys can't ask me that. He purported it.
Yes.
Basically, I got the money. You don't.
Well,
so here's my rules. Don't ask me those questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure Jerry's not paying those guys every week.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying.
I know. Jerry, listen. Jerry didn't want to take the heat. I feel like Jerry takes the heat every time the Cowboys fail, and there comes a point when he's probably heard it one too many times and he's snapped, and as simple as that.
Yeah, but he puts himself in those situations.
Exactly. He does.
There's nothing, and we've been on the life, in life about 50 years or so. Nobody gets to not take the bad stuff and only take the good stuff. It doesn't. Not even Jerry.
Yeah, it goes both ways, Foss. It does.
Yeah,
it does.
There you go.
Totally agree. Well, the good news for the Cowboys is at least they've got a bye before they get to this brutal stretch that starts with the 49ers next week.
And, they're going to show out just like Detroit did. Detroit wanted to run it up. Detroit wanted to get that touchdown to the lineman. And San Francisco is going to have a flashback to it's brutal. These next handful of games, it's brutal.
Yeah, well, we'll check back with you next week. We'll see what kind of storylines we've got heading into the Cowboys and the Niners. And in the meantime, always appreciate the conversation. What game you got tonight?
Oh, man, we're going up against the Westlake Chaparrals. It's going to be a tough one, and it's on the road. So, a top 10 team in 6A. We're competitive, but we're at a disadvantage.
Does Westlake have any serious Power 4 talent on their team?
Yeah.
That's all you had to say.
Yeah, they do.
I figured. I did.
And you get to see Cade Klubnik at Clemson, just if you want to know where their last quarterback is.
That's good. Does Austin Bowie have any Power 4 talent right now?
Yeah, a couple guys. But it's just not set up like Westlake is.
Nobody is set up like Westlake. Isn't that where Drew Brees went to high school?
And Nick Foles.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's right. That's right. Very nice.
Super Bowl champion high school quarterbacks from Austin, Texas.
Unbelievable. What a reunion that high school has to be when those kids.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. All right, good stuff, Foss. Always appreciate it, man. Have fun tonight on that call. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, yeah, and listen, I'm still in the Cowboys' corner, but something has to change, regardless of where you are now with the money. The players are going to have to play regardless, and that's going to make the difference. Anything else, questions by the media or anything else, isn't going to make a difference, Cappy. You know it, and I know it.
Sounds good. Talk to you next week. He's Steve Foster, laying down the law. Sundays, ESPN San Antonio with Chris Fernandez. He tag teams with us out at the Super Bowl, Radio Row, and we'll be seeing Foss before you know it. All right, 19 in front of 5. We'll come back with more in a moment. Stay with us as Sports Talk continues. But first, Charlie One has this traffic update. 25 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. So it's 10-6 now after Mookie Betts goes for a solo shot. Dodgers coming back. I don't feel good. I do not feel particularly good about this situation. Just hard to right now. Hard to get,
Hard to feel comfortable.
You just can't. You can't feel comfortable. It's very, very difficult. But you know what? Hey, that's part of the game, right? That's part of what we do.
Yeah, I think that with the amount of firepower that the Dodgers have, you can never feel too safe in any lead. They've cut this lead in the blink of an eye. They've cut this lead down to pretty much nothing.
No doubt. So that game now in the bottom of the 6th inning, folks, and keep that going as we continue here on Sports Talk. Hey, meanwhile, I'm on the Underdog Fantasy app right now. I'm looking at my weekend. I see all sorts of things. Part of the fun with Underdog Fantasy is that sometimes you can look and see the popular quick picks. I love these because those are like predetermined selections that have already been very popular amongst the number of players, and you, instead of looking at each game and each player and determining higher or lower on their stats, it's already there for you to analyze. Like, there's one here called Sunday Stars, and it has Justin Jefferson of Minnesota, higher than 7 receptions. C.J. Stroud of Houston against Green Bay, higher than 257.5 passing yards. Bijan Robinson of Atlanta versus Seattle Sunday, higher than 0.5 rushing plus receiving touchdowns. And Saquon Barkley of Philly going back to the Giants, higher than 0.5 rushing plus receiving touchdowns. So that is an interesting entry for our fantasy contest. They've got others for every sport. You can also have the opportunity to make an entry for tonight's Yankees-Guardians game, the NBA preseason, the NHL, WNBA as well. They're all there at Underdog Fantasy. In fact, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, touchdowns, passing yards, goals, assists for hockey, baskets, and a whole lot more. So, told you a little bit about what my experience is like. Now I'm going to make it even easier for you, folks. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward. Signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code KLAQ, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code KLAQ, to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Good luck to everybody, and hopefully you get some wins with our friends at Underdog Fantasy here tonight. Mets again, bottom 6, 10-6 is the score, and it looks like Jesse Winker just got hit to go to first base to lead things off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Mets need more runs, Alberto. Simple as that. 10 is not enough, as crazy as it sounds, because it's the Dodgers we're talking about. And the Dodgers just keep on hitting. Andy Pages has like 4 RBIs by himself. He's a machine tonight. And Betts has a home run. The Mets have to figure out a way to keep loading up.
Yeah, the Mets have to get it done. But look, if you look on the bright side, Francisco Lindor, he's 2 of 4. Sterling Marte, he's 2 of 3. Pete Alonso, he is 1 of 2, but he has 3 RBIs, 3 runs. So if you want to look on the bright side as a Mets fan, you're a little hot right now. You want to remain hot, get them bats remain hot. And that's Sterling Marte with another hit here to advance the runners here with no outs in the bottom of the 6th.
Yeah, Marte's hitting. Winker's the third, so first and third now, nobody out. And yeah, the Mets are going to have to keep scoring. They are. They're going to need 12, 13, 14 runs to hold the Dodgers off. This could be one of these crazy games, one of these like 14-10 games. You just never know.
Yeah, you see them every once in a while in the playoffs, but man, I'm surprised Mark Vientos, he's 0 for 4 right now for the New York Mets. I'm extremely surprised.
Well,
he is 0 for 4.
Let's say, how about this? How about a day where the Mets score 10 and Vientos is 0 for 4? That's a good sign. That means because Vientos has been carrying the Mets offense almost single-handedly this whole series. So at least there's somebody else hitting right now not named Vientos.
Him and Tyrone Taylor both currently hitless right now, as is Jeff McNeil. The only Mets hitless right now, but everybody else has a hit. Sterling Marte, 3 of 4. Winkler, 1 of 2. So Pete Alonso, like I said, 1 of 2 with a 3-run RBI.
By the way, it's Winker. Not to be confused with Winkler, like Henry Winkler, the Fonz. It's very easy. I mean, I've got, you can get Winkler on the brain, too, as Taylor has just popped up to short center, which was about the worst thing you could do, because now, even though the Mets have second and third with 1 out, you got to at least get one of these home. And there's no reason why they should not have been able to advance. At least get a sac fly. You got to bring somebody home here.
You do, but hey, Francisco Alvarez, catcher, 3 of 3. Got to love that performance right now. If Jeff McNeil is up.
Yeah, McNeil has been a slug so far in the postseason for the Mets. So if there's ever a time to get on board, it'd be right now. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this game. Mets-Dodgers, 10-6 as we get into the bottom of the 6th, 1 out. And Brett Honeywell trying to keep the Dodgers in this one. And if he does, well, then they can keep climbing back. Let me see here. I see from the Texas Truth. He was talking about the WNBA earlier from our segment about the WNBA and the salary situation, like Angel Reese was talking about, that she can't even pay her bills with her salary. And the Texas Truth goes, how can WNBA players complain when the league has not made a profit since its inception? You have a product that is costing you money. It is operating at a loss. You should be grateful that the league even exists. Now, that's the truth, because the league is expected, the WNBA is expected to lose $50 million this year. And they've averaged $10 million in a loss per season since its start. So, look, they feel that the new TV deals with both the NBA and the WNBA will change that. The TV rights deals will change that, because the WNBA has always kind of been an afterthought. But now suddenly it's getting more attention. It's getting more viewers, more interest, better attendance, better everything. So that could change the way this thing is going.
Yeah, the level of play that is being injected from college basketball into professional basketball for women is really drawing a lot of eyes to the sport. It's now just a little bit of time is needed so that the salaries can adjust with the number of eyes that are there. I think that as much as we might want to give the ladies everything they deserve, everything is a business, right? Everything is numbers and cents. And when you're not in the black, when you're not running a profit, it's difficult for the ladies to demand anything when the owners can just tell them, well, hey, when we make money, that's when I'll give you X, Y, and Z, even though I find that unfair.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. 33 past the hour, but good job. Appreciate the tweets coming in on Twitter and X from the Texas Truth from our conversation earlier in the show about the WNBA. This is an interesting story also. We haven't talked about this yet, but Tony Bennett, one of the best coaches in all of college basketball, and he announced that he is retiring from the game as a head coach, and as successful as it gets. So, you hear the press conference from Tony Bennett. If you're wondering, why would a guy that has one of the best college basketball teams in the country suddenly step down weeks before the season started? Here is your answer.
I am so grateful. And I think about those pillars Carla mentioned in the first two, humility and passion. Humility means know who you are and have sober judgment. And passion means do not be lukewarm. Be wholehearted in all you do. And I think those are the ones that caused me at this time to look and have sober judgment about where I was at. And that's probably the thing that has choked me up the most, and the hardest thing to say is when I looked at myself and I realized I'm no longer the best coach to lead this program in this current environment. And if you're going to do it, you got to be all in. You got to have everything. And if you do it half-hearted, it's not fair to the university and those young men. So, and looking at it, that's what made me step down. There's still a way in this environment. There's a way with Carla and President Ryan and the board to do it and hold to our values. But it's complicated. And to admit, honestly, that I'm not equipped to do this is humbling. But it honors the pillars. And maybe that's why I knew I was going to do this. And sorry, and you can make fun of me later. My son, he's like, geez, Dad, get a hold of yourself. I know it. I feel it. Just make fun of one of my friends every time he gets interviewed that gets emotional. He knows who I'm talking about. But that's it. This game, I think it's right for players, student athletes to receive revenue. Please don't mistake me. I do. I think it is. But the game and college athletics is not in a healthy spot. It's not. And there needs to be change. And it's not going to go back. I think I was equipped to do the job here the old way. And that's who I am, and that's how it was. And my staff has buoyed me along to get to this point. But there needs to be change. It's going to be closer to a professional model, Coach Carlisle. I think it is, where there's got to be collective bargaining. There has to be a restriction on the salary pool that teams can spend. There has to be transfer regulation restrictions.
So there you go. Again, one of the best coaches in the game today abruptly deciding, getting choked up about it. Look, Tony Bennett is only 55 years old. He had at least another 10 to 15 years of coaching left in him if he wanted to do it. But, here's a guy that has been critical of college athletics and the increased emphasis on the transfer portal and NIL, and ultimately it's led to him deciding to step away.
Man, it's really disappointing when things outside of the game of basketball contribute to the early retirement of greats like we see in Bennett. So, yeah, it's extremely disappointing, but I hope that the fact that he sounds the alarms at the state of collegiate athletics, I hope that really draws more eyes to the problem and gets people trying to fix it, right? Because obviously things aren't right, things aren't as they should be, and there needs to be some sort of balance restored to the system for it to continue the way that we love it.
Yeah, and I don't know when we're going to see that. I mean, who knows? Because the model right now, I would agree. I mean, they have given athletes everything so far. They've given them total power. Total power. You could transfer whenever you want. You could transfer an unlimited number of times. You can, do it really. I mean, if you think about it right now, they have everything. And unfortunately, the schools are the ones that are at the disadvantage because you never know. Like, let's just put it this way. New Mexico State last year, I'm using them as an example because they had a great football season and they went to a bowl. They lost 49 players from that team last year. 49 left. And they left because they were all being offered other opportunities from schools that knew how good that talent was. Heck, seems like half of them went all the way to Vanderbilt, Pavia and company. But the point is, that's the scary thing. If you've got an NCAA tournament team in basketball or you've got a bowl team in football, you're going to lose your nucleus around here because they can't afford to keep them when you've got schools that are willing to pay significant money to bring them on board.
Yeah, you can't keep them in the schools that can offer the most money. They do get to keep them. And what's that going to do to the state of collegiate athletics? It's going to be extremely detrimental. But all I can really think about, though, is that we want to take the power away from the players. They want to take that power of being able to leave whenever or transfer whenever. Yeah. The thing is, and there's no rules against this, and no one cries up a river when this happens, but coaches can leave for more money all the time. As everyone listening, they are free to leave for another job almost at any time, as long as they're not contractually obligated. And I think that's what
even if they are contractually obligated, they still have a buyout clause. So I mean, there really is nothing that could ever hold a coach to a school. Nothing. Mm-hmm. So you could say the same thing. Well, maybe if the coaches can leave, why can't the players leave? And I get that. I do. I understand that logic. But it's a shame that when you're a smaller program and you finally build it up, when things are going good, you lose everybody because you can't afford to keep them.
Yeah, it's extremely disappointing because if you really wanted to get into extremely sad in an extremely depressive state, as you just sit here and say, well, what could have happened if everyone stays at an MSU? And do they compete at the next level? Do they maybe get into this broadened college football playoff? The answer you have to say is maybe yes. Yeah. They might run the table here in Conference USA as everyone has kind of suffered a step back. They run the table in Conference USA, and maybe they get into the college football playoff, but NIL and free will has taken that from them.
41 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. We'll take our final timeout, come back. John Teicher will join us next. We'll say hi to the voice of the Miners, get his thoughts on Tony Bennett stepping down, and he'll be with us in less than 20 minutes for UTEP football with Scotty Walden. Following John, it'll be Bo Bagley and Paul McKinnon and all of our football reporters as Football Friday Night comes up at 7 o'clock right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. Past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. Updating the game going on right now, it's 11-6, bottom 7, Mets leading the Dodgers. If the Mets hold on to win, that's a big if, they'll go back and play games 6 and possibly 7 at Dodger Stadium. Matter of fact, game 6 would be Sunday night at 6:08, and then Monday would be also 6:08. So that's what's at stake right now with the Mets and Dodgers, and then you got the Guardians and Yankees also doing battle. In fact, coming up here tonight, we've got Game 4 from Cleveland, and then tomorrow will be Game 5, and Game 5 will be taking place at 6:08. In fact, we'll have it for you on 600 ESPN El Paso. This is what happens when there is no UTEP football game on Saturday. We actually can broadcast baseball, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited to hear from John Teicher, who is live out at Border City Ale House, 1506 Lee Trevino, where UTEP football with Scotty Walden will be starting a little later than normal, but we still get John here for our final segment like we normally do. And tell you what, the Mets-Dodgers series looks like the Dodgers are in total control. Even when the Mets have a 10-2 lead, the Dodgers are still making things really, really interesting right now, Teicher.
They sure are, and I think it's been a terrific postseason, Steve, right from the very start, and obviously even some of the earlier series, I think, lived up to their billing. And, they say the cream rises to the top, and it may ultimately be the Dodgers and the Yankees, but they've certainly had to work for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, they have. The Mets, it just never seems easy, although Francisco Lindor had a huge lead, tried to just get cute on Brett Honeywell, the former Chihuahua, and then he just got picked off at first. So the Mets took themselves out of a runner on with nobody out against Honeywell, and now there's one out, nobody on. Yanks Guardians are fun. In fact, you look at what happened yesterday with Joenski Noel, who hit that 2-run tying home run, and then eventually the game winner from David Fry, when it seemed like the Yankees were going to get a 3-0 lead and just about wrap that series up.
Yeah, when Judge and Stanton went back-to-back off Clase, it looked for sure like the Yankees were home free, and then the Guardians' magic certainly maybe the most exciting game of this postseason so far. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes from here.
Tice, we just talked before we brought you on about Tony Bennett retiring. In fact, he cited the state of the game for his retirement. He's 55 years old, so young guy, a lot of years left in coaching. He's turned Virginia into a national powerhouse, got choked up at his press conference, but he's not the only well-known coach who has, in fact, decided to step away maybe before they would have been ready because the game has changed. And it really is, it takes a special type of person to be able to navigate through the new state of college athletics these days.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dried, Steve. And even despite the tremendous amounts of money that these coaches make, you've got to be willing to deal with all that comes with it. And I think helping to raise the monies to pay these kids, I think maybe starting to take its toll. And again, I go back to Tim Floyd, who was kind of ahead of his time. He kind of saw this coming and certainly could walk away from it, did walk away from it, and now there obviously have been an increasing number of prominent coaches that are choosing to do the same. You either choose to deal with it or you don't. And Tony Bennett, at the age of 55, decided that he didn't want to. Joe Golding is still one that's willing to put up with everything that you must in order to be able to coach at this level.
Tice, a couple of weeks back, we were talking, and I forget what the subject was, but I think it might have been when the Mountain West was back into play for UTEP. And we had somebody on our app wanting to know, and it was a very good question. I think it was Pinky, actually. And Pinky, this was about a week ago, had asked on the app, of all the stadiums and locations that you have called a sport, what would be your favorite locations or stadiums?
Well, after giving it some thought, Steve, now that we're going back into the Mountain West Conference with several of our former friends from the old Western Athletic Conference, it's hard to beat doing a football game at the Air Force Academy with all that it brings. The beauty of the Air Force Academy, of the surrounding Colorado Springs area, and just the aura of what the Air Force Academy stands for and what it means. It's hard to top a football game in particular at the Air Force Academy. A basketball game also is a little different there simply because the Cadet Fieldhouse is a multi-purpose facility, so you've got a basketball arena and right next to it a hockey rink, and you can hear actually while you're getting ready for a basketball game, if they're doing some activity on the hockey rink, you can hear that activity there. So it's a very interesting experience as well. But certainly I think football at the Air Force Academy has to be right up there at the top.
Isn't that also the U.S. Olympic training area in Colorado Springs?
In Colorado Springs, but not on the grounds of the academy. They have their own separate facility. That's right.
Oh, man. But so for you, if in 2026 UTEP is playing at Air Force, you will be very excited to reunite yourself with that stadium.
Yeah, no question about it. In fact, I'm hoping for it. That's the year the Miners open in football, are scheduled to open, certainly at Michigan. So what a pair that would be as two of the road games UTEP would play in 2026.
As somebody who grew up as a kid in Detroit, have you ever had the opportunity to watch a Wolverines game in Ann Arbor before?
No, I've been to the stadium, but I've never seen a Wolverines game live. So to do a game in that stadium, in that environment, with all those people there, and in my native state, would certainly be one for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would probably be your first football game you've ever called in the state of Michigan, correct?
Yeah, true. That is true. We've never Miners have never played a game against a Michigan school in the state of Michigan. So yeah, that would be the first for me.
Did you see the tribute to Red Grange that Illinois will have this week when they play Michigan, and they're going to go throw their throwback 100-year-old leather helmets on? And I guess what they've done is they've taken a plastic shell helmet and they've put leather on top of it. So it has the leather look exactly like they wore in the mid-'20s, and they're going to be wearing that against Michigan tomorrow.
Yeah, that's so cool, and that's obviously something that I want to have a look at. Yeah, these days the schools are becoming so inventive, and that's just something I want to have a look at for sure.
Well, let's put it this way: when you're making Big Ten media money like these schools are, it's probably a little easier to dip into the budget and come up with something pretty unique like leather helmets for a game against the Wolverines.
Yeah, I wonder what that's running the Illini. What do you suppose? Huh?
Oh my God! Could you imagine? Because you're going to take a helmet, and then you essentially have to put leather. But by the way, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but you know what? From a safety standpoint, it might actually be safer to have leather on top of plastic than just plastic on plastic when you tackle and hit people. So who knows? Maybe it's a way to save people. You know, you never know.
They're wearing those padded caps. Some schools are wearing those padded caps anyway.
Yep.
That they all wear in practice that don't necessarily have the logos on it, but all you have to do is add the logos, and presto, you've got the protective. So why not do it with leather? Sure.
So true. So true. All right, look, we've got our final hour coming up. Are we taking this to the top of the hour, or are we taking a break, Alberto? You have to tell me. I don't know. I usually break around this time.
No, we're taking it to the top.
Taking it to the top. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We'll stay with you for a few more minutes, Tash. Then we'll take it ourselves, and then when you're ready for Utah football with Scotty Walden, we'll play the theme and get things started. But
fair enough.
Hockey season is underway. I know you're excited about that. Big hockey fan and having the opportunity to see the NHL. To me, that is one of the perks of ESPN Plus because it seems like you get every hockey game on ESPN Plus every year.
Yeah, great time of year when you've got hockey going along with the baseball playoffs and obviously the NFL and the college season. It won't be long before the NBA season gets underway and the college basketball season. How about that? We're only a couple of weeks away from UTEP getting things underway. The Miners tomorrow will be in Chihuahua for their exhibition game against the University of Chihuahua, and then a week from Monday in Albuquerque to play an exhibition game against the Lobos, a preview of the Miners' return to the Mountain West Conference, and then on Monday, November 4th. It's a Monday this year. The Miners will open their season. So what an exciting time.
It really is. By the way, did you give any consideration to possibly going into Chihuahua to watch the game because of the unique circumstances surrounding that this weekend?
Yeah, the Miners did I think a chartered flight there, and as much as I'd like to have been a part of that, this is a working weekend for me, Steve, because we've got a football game on Tuesday, so it's not a normal week. And what normally would be an off day if there was no football game, I'll be working from home trying to get ready for UTEP football at Louisiana Tech on Tuesday. So that's how I'm going to spend my time.
I was going to say, you guys are probably leaving for Louisiana sometime mid-morning on Monday, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. I think we leave at 11 o'clock and playing a Tuesday game. I'm not, last year we played all three of our midweek games on Wednesday. I'm not sure I've ever done a Tuesday football game. Obviously, I've done some Fridays and some Thursdays and obviously some Wednesdays. I think this will be the first Tuesday UTEP football game I've ever called.
Have you ever called a Sunday game before?
No, and that's probably it for me. I mean, if they go to Sundays, you can probably forget it.
I hear you. Yeah, that would be a little strange if we ever saw Sunday football. By the way, with the Mountain West, I do feel like we're going to be trading in weeknight games for late night games. So we could get back to the 8 o'clock kickoffs like we used to have back in the old WAC days, and with Hawaii now becoming a full-time member, which, by the way, I'm really excited about that. I kind of felt like with all the years they've been football only, but they go back to the all sports from their WAC days, it only seems fitting that Hawaii would get their opportunity to become a full-fledged member of the Mountain West.
Yeah, obviously that was, and that's the reason they didn't add another school after they added UTEP, thinking that they could persuade Hawaii to become a full-time Mountain West Conference member. And again, I think it's probably a solid decision. I think that the opportunity for a visiting player to play in Honolulu, to travel to and play in Honolulu, is certainly a recruiting lure for the Mountain West Conference. So I think it was a good idea, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Mountain West is going to go any past 8 full-time members or try and recruit one or more just football-only members to comprise their schedule once 2026 rolls around.
Well, I'll tell you what I would love. I would love to see some basketball-only schools, too, just like what the Pac did by bringing Gonzaga in. Could you imagine if they found a way to get St. Mary's involved and maybe took them into the conference and bolstered their already strong basketball league?
Yeah, that would be terrific. I would agree, although I'm not sure, even with Gonzaga leaving the West Coast Conference, that's still a pretty good basketball league that St. Mary's would be interested in moving their footprint. So
yeah,
we'll
they finally have an automatic bid to the conference tournament every year, and not dealing with Gonzaga. So why ruin that opportunity when you've got that in front of you?
Yeah,
So,
good point.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, John, top of the hour right around the corner. Listen, we will come to you as soon as you guys are ready with Coach Walden. In the meantime, you're hanging out at Border City Ale House. Have a cold one for me. Have some fun, and we'll talk to you here in a little bit.
Have a great weekend, Steve. Thanks.
All right, you too. He's John Teicher, voice of the Miners, and he joins us from Border City Ale House, and he'll be back in just a little bit. We could turn him down, guys. That'll be great. 1506 Lee Trevino, the location for Border City Ale House. All right. Meanwhile, we've got the top of the hour. In fact, it is straight up 6 o'clock as you are listening to 600 KROD El Paso. That's right. ESPN Radio, ESPN El Paso, here as we continue with Sports Talk. A little bonus time with you. We were expecting to give John the opportunity, but as soon as they are ready to go, we will say goodbye and go back to John for the start of UTEP football with Scotty Walden. However, Alberto is off right now. He's getting ready to head out to cover his game, along with all of our reporters who are already checking in from around El Paso. Let's recap right now and give you the full list of games going on tonight for Football Friday night. Beginning with our 915 Tours Game of the Week. Adrian Broadus getting ready for Austin at Irvin. Should be a good one. Austin, 5-1 overall, 4-0 in district. Irvin, 4-2 overall, 3-1 in district play. We also have Mountain View visiting Riverside. Steve Escajeda will be there. Isleta at Clint with Angel Torres. Brandon Cohn getting ready for Pebble Hills and Eastwood from Pebble Hills. And then we also have, that might actually be at the SAC, now that I think about it. Andrus and Burgess with Zay Galindo and Sebastian Perez Navarro. George is going to be at the Horizon Del Valle game coming up in a little bit. We also have J.D. hanging out at Hanks for El Paso High and Hanks. And finally, Alberto Urueta on his way to Franklin, getting ready for the Cougars and the Socorro Bulldogs. So there are your games as we are just a few minutes, actually we're about an hour away. And by the way, despite the fact that we will be starting late with UTEP football with Scotty Walden from Border City Ale House today, we will start right at 7 tonight for Football Friday night. So for those of you wondering, straight up top of the hour, 7 o'clock, it will be Bo Bagley and Paul McKinnon for Football Friday night right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. And looking at that view that Adrian just posted, that looks absolutely perfect. The sun is right above the mountain right now, and you could not get better weather if you tried for Austin and Irvin. Should be a good one, our game of the week. And again, 8 games on our schedule here tonight for Football Friday night. So keep a note of that, folks, as we continue here on Sports Talk. Just saw this tweet from Jose, and Jose says, wish list for next season, a senior experienced FCS quarterback transfer to challenge the current quarterback room. Locklear made some great plays, but there are still some questionable ones that FIU thankfully did not take advantage of. So anyway, that was a great remark from Jose as we getting ready to wind things down. And we will then take it out to John and starting football, our UTEP football with Scotty Walden from Border City Ale House. And apparently we are just a few moments, maybe a minute or two away from starting that show. So for you UTEP football fans wanting to hear the start of the UTEP football with Scotty Walden, that'll be coming up very, very shortly with John Teicher, the voice of the Miners, and heading out to the Ale House, our Monday night home. In fact, be back there on Monday for a doubleheader of Monday Night Football, not to mention playoff baseball. So many great things going on with Happy Hour, their new food and drink specials, their brand new menu, which has some incredible items, and one of our favorite places to be, Border City Ale House, our home on Mondays here on 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, meanwhile, last check of the Met game. Right now, it is 11-6, bottom 8, first and third, nobody out. And Brett Honeywell has been pitching long relief today for the Dodgers, still in, has some trouble now. But again, this just shows you Dave Roberts did not want to go deep into his bullpen today. He's saving them for games 6 and possibly 7 from Dodger Stadium Sunday and Monday. So for Dave Roberts, I don't want to say he's conceding this game to the Mets. He's just not going to use up his arms knowing he's going to need them for a chance to wrap things up, win the National League pennant, and head to the World Series, which is all what the Dodger fans want right now. Meanwhile, Starlin Marte just singled, knocking in the 12th run of the game for the Mets. So it is now first and third, nobody out, 12-6 the score, as the Mets are doubling up the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then later tonight will be Game 4 from Cleveland. Guardians trying to tie the Yankees at 2 apiece. So we got a lot of good stuff going on. Meanwhile, 5 past the hour, just got the sign from John. He is ready to go. So UTEP football with Scotty Walden coming up now. And then at 7 o'clock, it'll be Football Friday night. For Angel and Alberto Duetta and Adrian Broadus and all of our staff, I'm Steve Kaplowitz. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. I'll talk to you again on Monday.